Brian, could you consider marrying Carol again? Are you serious? The hospital director, Larry, with a pale face, proposed the idea of remarriage to me. Beside him stood his trembling eldest daughter, Carol, who had a secret she couldn't tell anyone. My name is Brian Coleman. I work as a doctor at a privately run hospital. 5 years ago, I married my wife, Sarah, and we were living happily until she passed away 3 years ago in a car accident. Sarah was also a doctor, and because she wanted to focus on her career, we didn't have any children. Brian, I need to talk to you. One day, the hospital director, Larry, approached me in the hospital. Thinking it was about work, I went to his office. Hi, Brian, he greeted me, and there was Carol, Sarah's older sister. Carol is 3 years older than Sarah. She is not a doctor but works in administration and has always seemed quiet and a bit shy. The sisters were very close, and Sarah often referred to her as her beloved sister and looked up to her. Carol had a fiancé who was supposed to take over the hospital one day. Since Sarah's passing, I hadn't had the chance to ask how she was doing, but I heard she was going to get married soon. Carol, who was waiting for me in the director's office, looked pale. Although she looked at me, she said nothing. Brian, I'm sorry for calling you so suddenly. I have something important to discuss with you today. Something important. When I was asked to have a seat on the sofa in the office, I sat across from Larry and Carol, who both had troubled looks on their faces. Yes, I know it's outrageous to ask this of you, but Brian, could you consider marrying Carol again? Are you serious? I couldn't believe the unexpected words from Larry. Carol? Wait, Carol is Sarah's. Yes, Sarah's biological sister, Larry confirmed. When I instinctively looked at Carol, she was still pale and trembling slightly. Something felt off about her demeanor and Larry's urgent tone. Thinking that, I swallowed hard and tried to calm my confused thoughts. Is there some kind of situation? I gently asked. Larry stared at me. Even though Sarah had passed away, I still considered Larry, her father, as my father-in-law. He had treated me like his own son ever since I started dating Sarah. He even said that if Carol's fiancé wasn't in the picture, he would want me to take over the hospital. If there's something going on, please tell me. Sarah is no longer here, but I still think of you as my important family. Brian, thank you. Hearing my words, Larry took off his glasses and pressed his eyes. As you know, this hospital has been passed down from my father, and we've managed to keep it running for generations. It's not a big hospital, but for the sake of the locals who have relied on us for years, I feel we must continue running it. Yes, that's true, I agreed. However, I don't have a son, so to keep the hospital running, I need a son-in-law, Larry continued. Bringing in an outsider or letting a relative take over is an option, but they only see this hospital as a money-making box. He then looked at Carol with a caring expression. Carol has gone through a lot as the eldest daughter, he muttered, then looked at me to change the subject. Carol says she doesn't want to get married. Doesn't want to get married, yet you want me to marry Carol? But she has a fiancé, right? You're right, but the fiancé is not trustworthy. He's been pretending all this time, Larry said, clenching his fists in anger. I can't let that man marry Carol, so I broke off the engagement. But in the future, more men like him will approach Carol to inherit this hospital. As I said earlier, their goal is the hospital and the money. That's why, even if it's just for show, I want you to marry Carol. Larry's disappointment and frustration towards those who approach for money and his hope for Carol's happiness were palpable from his clenched fists. I understand the situation, but why me? I was Carol's sister, namely Sarah's, husband. Larry looked at me calmly. From both of our perspectives, you are the only man we can trust in this world. I am the only one. I glanced at Carol, who was looking down but nodded slightly. You are the only one, Brian. As a doctor, you understand the importance of a hospital for patients and have considered the future of this hospital with me. That's why I want you to marry Carol and inherit this hospital. I see. These unexpected words left me speechless. I always felt Larry treated me like his own son, but I didn't realize he trusted me that much. I want Carol to be happy. Please, can you help her? He pleaded. Next to him, Carol also trembled as she did the same. Even though I had lost my wife, I had once decided to live as part of her family. Above all, they were her beloved ones. All right, I will help. I nodded to Larry and Carol. So Carol, let's take care of each other from now on. Yes, thank you very much. Even though it was just a formality, we registered our marriage and moved into a house prepared by Larry, considering the eyes of those around us. However, we had separate bedrooms to respect each other's privacy. Carol, let's feel relaxed as if we were a real couple because this is our house. Is that okay? Of course, she agreed. Though Carol was Sarah's sister and not a stranger, there were no romantic feelings between us. It was a marriage in name only. But there was something on my mind. Carol, shall we talk about Sarah tonight? Yes, she replied. After dinner, while drinking hot milk in the living room, I spoke to Carol. She was sitting across from me, looking down. Since our marriage was decided, there had been a slight awkwardness. I could sense her tension around me. We had already begun living together, and I wanted us to at least get along like friends. As I mentioned earlier, since losing Sarah, I've talked to friends who knew her and shared memories. But friends aren't family. You and your family cherish Sarah the most, I said. Carol listened intently to my words. So tonight, let's talk about Sarah over drinks. I'd love to hear stories about her childhood from you. You really cherished Sarah, didn't you? She asked. Of course. Sarah was my comrade, my best friend, and my beloved wife. When I answered confidently, Carol smiled gently. It was the first smile I had seen from her in a while. Sarah was so lucky. What? Sarah was so lucky to be cherished like that, she repeated, smiling again. But this time it looked a bit lonely. After that, we had a few drinks, calling it a housewarming party, and talked. Carol, usually quiet, spoke happily about Sarah. She showed how much she cared for Sarah, which made me happy. Brian, thank you. What makes you say that? For accepting my father's proposal to marry me, she said. With the alcohol taking effect, Carol became a bit more open. So again, thank you. You were Sarah's husband, but you agreed to marry me. It's okay, Carol. Like I told your father, you're an important family to me. Then I started to talk about my own family. My parents had a bad relationship and divorced when I was still young. After that, I was raised by my father, but he was the kind of person who never really thought of me as his son, selfish and inconsiderate. That's why from high school on, I studied and worked hard, got a scholarship, and went to college. During my college years, I spent all my time studying and working part-time jobs. I didn't have a moment to go out. After enduring all those hardships, I met Sarah at the hospital and was treated like a son by Larry. That's when I learned the warmth of family. That's why I care about you too. It's nice to hear, Carol said with relief. Then she slowly stood up and moved to stand beside me. Carol, I have something I need to tell you. Something to tell me? Her sudden serious tone made my heart race nervously. Nodding, Carol slowly raised her left arm and rolled up the sleeve of her jacket. Oh my, this? Seeing the scars there, I was so shocked I nearly fell over. They were vivid, raw scars. I couldn't tell anyone that my fiancé was abusing me both verbally and physically. As the daughter of the hospital, I felt I couldn't let go of someone who would be a big plus for the hospital because of my personal feelings, Carol revealed. Carol's former fiancé was the second son of a major hospital. He was also a doctor, and marrying him would secure the future of Carol's hospital. After Sarah passed away, he brought up the topic of marriage. Until then, he had been kind and amiable. But suddenly, I had a thought. Is he really the right one? So I told him we should postpone the wedding. That's when he changed completely. Carol hugged herself tightly. From then on, he verbally abused and threatened me every day. He wanted to control me completely. Sometimes he even got violent. I can't believe it, I said, shocked. I endured and endured, but I couldn't talk to anyone about it, and I lost myself. These scars are from that time when I felt utterly hopeless. Her former fiancé had changed after Sarah's death. Since I hadn't seen her during that period, I had no idea she was going through that. When I thought I couldn't take it anymore, my parents visited me at my place. They later told me they just felt an urgent need to see me. Seeing their faces, I finally broke down and told them everything. She recalled those days, and tears welled up in her eyes, her voice trembling. Knowing the situation, my father was furious and broke off the engagement. We received some compensation from him. But that's not the end of it, is it? I muttered, struggling to contain my anger. She looked at me with shaking eyes. Realizing I was frowning at the thought of her pain, I quickly came to my senses. Oh, sorry. What's wrong? Nothing. Then she smiled, looking relieved. That's why I thought you were the right choice. Since what happened with him, I lost trust in people, especially men. I was scared just having them close. It's understandable. Even hearing the story made it clear how horrifically Carol had been treated by her ex-fiancé. My father was worried about me, so he suggested the remarriage to you. He knew you were Sarah's husband and knew you were a kind, gentle, and wise person. Her face clouded with a look of guilt. But I'm sorry for dragging you into my selfishness and causing you trouble. It's not trouble at all. Really? Sure. Besides, this isn't selfish, Carol. You tried to move forward again. I stood up slowly and gently extended my right hand to her. You haven't given up on trusting people or overcoming your fear of men. So I'll do everything I can to help because you're an important family to me. Brian, hearing my words, she bit her lip hard. Tears streamed down her cheeks and wet her trembling lips. Can I hold your hand? Yes. I gently touched Carol's hand. She flinched for a moment, but as I slowly and gently held her hand, the trembling gradually subsided. It's all right, Carol. I'm not like that jerk. When I deliberately said it firmly, her eyes widened and she looked at me. Once she smiled, she exhaled deeply and seemed to feel relieved. Yeah, he never touched me gently like this. He seemed kind on the surface, but he was nothing like you. She took another deep breath and exhaled. Seeing her savor the moment, I felt an overwhelming joy, and tears welled up in my eyes. Carol, let's slowly start regaining the real you. Don't worry. I'll be with you. When I said this with a serious look, she stared at me and nodded slowly. I'm glad it's you who's here with me. She squeezed my hand tightly in return. From that day on, we started living together as a couple. Having built a relationship of trust, we often talked about Sarah. Those were peaceful, happy times. I think it was Sarah who guided me to avoid marrying my ex-fiancé and for my parents to come to help me. You think so? Yes. If I had married him, my life would have been a disaster by now, and I think it was Sarah who made it possible for me to live with you. Indeed, if it weren't for Sarah, I wouldn't have remarried Carol. Because of Sarah, I experienced the warmth of her family and learned the warmth of having a home. We owe Sarah so much. For sure. We looked at each other and laughed, squeezing each other's hands tightly. A few years later, Carol and I truly became a married couple. When our child was born, Larry shed tears of joy. Lucas, be kind to your sister Sophia, okay? Okay, Mom. Come on, Sophia. Let's go. Okay, Lucas. Now, I live happily with my beloved wife Carol and our adorable son and daughter.